Welcome, dear listeners, to yet another mini episode of Arpit's Mindlab. I'm Arpit Malhotra, and today we are going to talk about the science of construction of our meal plate and how the construction of our meal plate can have scientific benefits if we want to go for a low carbohydrate diet. We all know the benefits of low carbohydrate diet, not just for weight loss but also for people who are suffering from diabetes or cholesterol issues or PCOS among women or thyroid issues. Now, when we say the construction of our meal plate, we have to understand that there are essentially four macronutrients that are in our diet. There's fats, proteins, carbohydrates, and then there is fiber. Fiber, of course, doesn't play a lot of part in our diets, but other than that, there are micronutrients like vitamins and minerals. The essential hormonal responses in our bodies are caused due to fats and proteins and carbohydrates. Now, when we see our meal plate, and if we consume carbohydrates, we go for carbohydrates in the very first instance. What happens is that there is a dopamine response that is sent to our brain. And as we know, dopamine is the molecule of reward. So what happens is our brain and body tells us to eat more of carbohydrates, which is undesirable. On the other hand, we need to know about this molecule called CCK or cholecystokinin molecule. You don't need to remember the name of the molecule, you can just call it CCK. It is released by the upper small intestine called duodenum. It is released by the lining of upper small intestine, and what it does is that if you are consuming fats and proteins, specifically fats such as omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, and proteins such as glutamine amino acid, that is. So what it does is that it sends a response which gives a sense of satiety or satisfaction. So we end up finishing our meals earlier. So this is the science of our construction of our meal plate. We need to always consume our fats in the form of nuts and seeds that are rich in omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, and our proteins like salmon or meats or cottage cheese or paneer, because of which there will be a CCK response and we will end up consuming less of carbohydrates. Now, that's just the science behind it, but what's the practicality of it? For this, we have often heard that processed foods are bad for us, and emulsifiers, specifically in those processed foods, are really bad for us. So, what do these emulsifiers do? Well, they erode the lining of the upper small intestine, which is the duodenum, because of which the CCK response is delayed. And when that CCK response is delayed, we end up consuming more of that food that contains those emulsifiers. Usually, all the processed foods contain a lot of emulsifiers, which is why we always say that we should consume foods that are less processed. They should obviously be cooked so that they're safe to consume, but they should be less processed. That's one aspect of it. The other more commercial aspect of it is that butter chicken, our own Indian butter chicken, occupies a lot of market share when it comes to ordering from outside. Butter chicken contains a lot of ground cashews. Ground cashews release a lot of emulsifiers, because of which that CCK response is delayed and we end up consuming more of that butter chicken. We always say you cannot have enough of butter chicken, especially for North India, because it matches the palate, the tastes of North Indian people. So that's the science behind CCK, the molecule of satiety, and dopamine, the molecule of reward. And you should know whenever you are consuming your carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, it should always be in an order which contains fats, proteins, and fibers, and then the carbohydrates. At least a little of proteins and fats first, and then the carbohydrates. Share this video with anyone who wants positive response through a low carbohydrate diet, and I hope this can practically help anyone who is seeking such a response.